Vince, another 5 questions for this episode of Clinical Dose. And man, these are some good questions we've got right here.
Good.
Let's get straight into it. Question number 1.
When the Arnold was cancelled, I don't think I've ever seen you so frustrated, deflated, disappointed, and lost. In our personal lives, fitness and business, we are dealt with knocks, and it's too easy to let them affect us for days, weeks, or even shape us. How do you manage these knocks and move on? Phil Spencer, and this question came from Facebook.
How do I personally manage them and deal with them? I have this affirmation that I recite to myself pretty much daily. And the affirmation is, only good things happen for me. So many things that can happen outside of our realm of control. The only thing that we have control over is how we perceive the happenings and how we react to the happenings. And I choose to perceive as things happening for me, not to me, which means that there is a master plan. I just can't see it, but everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for me. And I choose to perceive that the things that happen are good and not bad. And it takes a lot of courage to do that, because it's very difficult to see how the dots of your life are going to join when you're trying to look forward. You can always see it looking backwards. Very difficult looking forward. And it's very difficult when things on their face seem very bad, like the current pandemic, you know, people losing their jobs, people locked in their houses. Like, it's, at face value, it's pretty fucking shit. But it takes a lot of courage to be able to perceive that as going, no, you know what, I'm going to look for the silver lining here. I'm going to look for the opportunities. I'm going to perceive this as being good. And whatever I need to do to convince myself that this is something good that's happening for me, and it's all part of some master plan, and it's all going to make sense one day, and I'm going to be able to look back on it and go, yep, now I know why that happened. Now I know why the Arnold got cancelled, and I wasn't supposed to make my pro debut in 2020 at the Arnold Australia. I don't know why, but I have faith that it was a good thing that happened for me. So that's how I choose to do it.
Yeah.
With all the setbacks.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar as well. It depends what the knockback is as well.
Yeah.
If it's something business and you can grow from that and do something about it and then go for it again, do it, because you have to kind of make that better. That's what you have to do from a knockback, essentially.
Yeah.
If it's something out of your control, there's not really a lot you can do from it, but take the positive from it, keep growing, keep doing whatever you're doing, and learn from that and come back better again. Yeah, so it's really about seeing that kind of positive aspect of that knockback. Whether it's like business or something like that, it could be something that you've done wrong. Going for a job, something could be wrong there, you got knocked back. What can you do to improve that? And it's really about kind of focusing on what was wrong so you can improve and grow from that experience.
And I think there's probably a little merit here, Vince, in kind of distinguishing the difference between a knockback, something that's completely out of your realm of control, like the current virus and everything that's flowed on from that, and something that you failed at, where you've tried something. And you could argue that it's within or outside of your control, but it's a personal failure. There's probably merit in making that distinction.
Yeah.
But regardless, even in the case where you try something and you fail, I think a lot of the times the way that failure is perceived as being negative and being something bad is just wrong. It's just wrong.
Definitely.
Failure for most people is a dead end.
Yeah.
And it's just the wrong way of perceiving it. Failure is learning. Have you ever, you've seen like a kid try and walk for the first time.
Yeah.
They don't walk for the first time, take a step, fall over and go, fuck it, I'm not supposed to walk, and crawl for the rest of their lives. They get up and they take another step.
Yeah.
And they take another step. And eventually it all, it's persistence effectively is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think really this is at the heart of Phil's question. Whether or not it's a failure or not a failure or something within your realm of control, outside of your realm of control, it's just something that doesn't go your way. The most important thing is persistence, is continuing to move forward, seeking the positives, having the perspective that only good things happen for you, and not giving a fuck about anything else, and being persistent and continuing to move forward. All right, next question.
Cool. So surplus equals muscle gain or weight gain. Calorie deficit is fat loss or weight loss. Why do some claim you can do both? Alan Brito 92, and this came from Instagram. Essentially, really, you can't do both. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body doesn't have sufficient calories to be able to build lean muscle tissue.
Yeah.
You're more than likely going to be trying to maintain it at best. More than likely, most people are going to lose some, depending how far into deficit they go. The further you go, probably more likely the more you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Surplus muscle gain can also be weight gain, depending how you're training, eating, and stuff like that as well. But people claim you can do both, and you'll see this from a lot of a few businesses, personal trainers, all this kind of stuff, who claim you can lose weight, gain muscle, you follow their program.
Marketing.
Yeah, it is.
It's great for marketing.
And that's exactly right. It's enticing to that person they're trying to attract.
Yeah.
But ideally, they're kind of lying to them.
Yeah.
And they don't want them knowing that you can't do both, because that's going to be bad for business. Then they're not going to come back. They're going to try their program, probably have results in their weight loss category, go back, probably fail at their own thing, and then want to come back again. The thing that annoys me is that they don't put enough emphasis on actually teaching how to eat, how to train, all this kind of stuff, because they don't want you to know, essentially. Yeah.
I think, there's two ways to look at this. I believe that, recomp, so to speak, or the ability to gain some muscle and lose some fat at the same time is possible for untrained individuals who are new to the health and fitness lifestyle.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is because your body's adaptation to strength training, it's the first time you've introduced strength training.
Yeah.
So your body's immediate response to that is going to be exceptional. It's only ever going to happen the first time you get introduced to strength training. Your response is never going to be as exponential as it is when you first get introduced to strength training.
Yeah.
The same thing with dieting. If you've never been in a caloric deficit before and you're, obese or heavily overweight, and you start tracking calories and you put yourself into caloric deficit for the first time, it's the first time you've ever been in a fucking caloric deficit. So your body's ability to shed body weight is going to be the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
So I think in untrained individuals, there's probably, and this is just a rule of thumb, don't quote me on this, I would say a 3 to 6 month period where they can recomp.
Yeah.
After that 3 to 6 month period, no fucking chance. Because of exactly what you said, you can't be in caloric deficit and caloric surplus at the same time. I think it's important here to know the side effects of each as well, right? Because when we think caloric surplus, we think muscle gain.
Yeah.
A side effect of a caloric surplus is fat gain.
Yeah.
Okay? Not all of your gains are going to be muscle. There's going to be some fat gain in there, and that's a side effect of being in caloric surplus. When you're in caloric deficit, we think fat loss.
Yeah.
The side effect is muscle loss. You can't be in a caloric deficit and maintain all of your muscle mass. It's just fundamentally, thermodynamically impossible. You can't do both at the same time. So knowing that when you're in a surplus, the side effect is fat gain, how can you be in a surplus and lose fat? It's impossible.
Yeah.
And the same thing, knowing that when you're in a deficit, the side effect is muscle loss, how can you be in a deficit and gain muscle? It's not possible. Thermodynamically, it's impossible. So I think that first 3 to 6 month period, when you're first introduced to dieting, first introduced to resistance-based training and the fitness lifestyle, your body's going to be hyper responsive. So it's probably going to be able to do both for a very short period of time. But once you get over that, pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Stay away from the marketing bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just going to be disappointing.
100%.
Next question, Vince.
With someone who has a tight budget with the current situation that is really starting to miss workouts in the gym, what would you recommend are the top 5 things to buy to get a good all-round workout done in the house without buying big bulky machines? And we had a heap of questions hit up from Instagram about this kind of home training. What are the most essential pieces as well?
This is a hugely common question at the moment, right? Yeah. Oof, what are we going to do here? 5. All right. I'm gonna. Let's go one at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna go adjustable bench, or bench of some sort. Adjustable is going to be best because then you can go incline, decline, flat, whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna go resistance bands because I don't have a bench, and resistance bands are kind of my go-to at the moment.
All right. So those are the first 2.
Yeah.
Next, I'm gonna say you got to throw in some dumbbells.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say for me, different attachments. That you can put on bands.
On the bands?
Anything that you have. I've been using those for like pull down bar, all that kind of stuff.
4.
Ropes.
And then 5. So 5 is going to be 5 is because I'm thinking about my home gym setup at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think 5 either needs to be something like a hip circle. If you want to go down, if you want to go down the value for money route, because hip circle you can start doing a lot of leg movements that you can't do with resistance bands.
Yeah.
Or if you got the cash and you want to go and spend it a little bit, barbell plates.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because then
Definitely.
you can do things like deadlifts, squats. What can you do with plates that you can't do? You can chuck it in the corner and start doing fucking T-bar rows and shit like that. Stuff that you can't do with dumbbells.
Yeah.
So I would say those would be the top 5.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, the sky's the limit. I'm just thinking about in my gym setup, I've got a Smith machine that I resurrected from when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That's hugely useful. But if I didn't have that, the barbell and plates is a good, having a Smith machine is nice, but it's not really that essential. Definitely a bench.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of dumbbells which I use for pretty much every workout. The resistance bands I use every workout. The attachments to resistance bands, the ropes, the back grips, all that shit, the fat grips I use every workout. And then the hip circle I use on leg day.
Yeah, I would agree as well.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Those are the essentials.
Beautiful.
Next question.
So, what's involved with onboarding a new brand to TMJ? Do you tend to scout the brand or do they come to you? From Antonie Malan on Facebook.
Yeah, good question. And this is a question that, I haven't had this question for a while, Anthony, but I do get it quite frequently actually. And the answer to this question has changed over the years as well. The way, because the brand is so established now, not just in Australia, but worldwide, we have a lot of brands come to us, wanting us to sell their products. That's usually how it works. It's pretty rare that we're gonna see a brand that we want to stock, that we see potential in, before they see us. And that's really what it comes down to. It's a timing type thing. So the way it works now, the brands tend to come to us before we go and scout them. I actually can't think of, just off the top of my head, the last brand that we went and scouted, that we bought in, that didn't come to us in the first instance. It's probably going to be Core.
I was going to say, it's gone back a while.
It's going to be my first meeting with Doug Miller in his office in Virginia, in Arlington Nutrition Corner. Back in, when was that? 2013 now?
Yeah, it's a while.
I reckon that was the last brand that we actually scouted from memory, and then everything else has been, the brands hit us up. In terms of what's involved with onboarding, I mean, there's so many brands, man. There's at least one brand a week that hits us up that wants us to stock their product or review their product or bring our product into stores or just be involved in their brand, which is hugely humbling and hugely flattering for us, for this company, and it speaks volumes for the exposure and the brand reputation. So I never get sick of getting the emails and the DMs and so on and so forth. But what's involved is, first and foremost, we have to like the products. If the products is shit, this is the first, and this is where most brands will fall down. Yeah. We look into the products, and you've even been involved in this, and the products are just
They're shit.
What are we doing here? The products don't even compare to the quality of the shit that we're working with. Yeah. We're always trying, our main company mission, we're the people's company. We're a people-based company. Our main mission is to deliver the products and information that are going to help you guys improve your lives through health and fitness. So for us to bring on a product that doesn't match the quality of the products that we currently stock, it doesn't align with that company mission. It's taking a step back. I don't want you guys to spend your money on an inferior product. That's just bullshit. So that's the first thing. The products have to be good. If they're, formulas we've never seen before, they're using new ingredients, or they're just ooh. You know what the litmus test is? We want to use the products.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the litmus test. If we see a product and we're like, fuck, I want to try that. That's a good sign. Yeah. If we see the product and we're like, probably wouldn't use it, probably not going to get past the first round. That's the first point. Then we look at the brand. What's the brand about? Who are the people behind the brand? What's their brand culture? Do they align with our brand culture, or are they just interested in, throwing money at fitness influencers on Instagram to shake their ass and fucking have the product right next to, whatever. It just doesn't align with anything we do. So the brand and the people behind the brand have to align with our company culture as well. Then of course there's the business stuff. We've got to look at the pricing, we've got to look at the availability, we've got to look at the logistics. Have they ever done international business before? Do they know what's involved in terms of paperwork, in terms of freight, all of that kind of business piece.
Yeah.
And then once we've got a brand on board, we see how it goes. If it's popular with you guys and it resonates with you guys and you're supporting the brand, then we'll do more business with them, we'll bring more products in.
Yeah.
If not, then we won't. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Anything you got to add to that?
Not really. I mean, I do a lot of the testing when the products come in, but the international kind of importing stuff, don't really deal with.
Well, even domestically, you know, when there's new domestic brands as well, it's the same process.
Yeah,
obviously, that business piece is just, you know, what's the price, what's the availability, does it kind of work from a business perspective? But the same process applies to both domestic and international.
Probably the one thing you didn't touch on is the marketing of that product as well.
Yeah,
is something
that's
that,
true. Yeah, and that's, you know, that kind of ties into the whole business picture. It's like, well, you know, are we going to have to build this brand here? Are you guys going to help us build the brand? You know, we have a lot of influence in the marketplace to shine spotlights on brands that people have never heard of before, but it needs to make business sense for us to do that as well. You know, we're not going to take the spotlight off a brand that we've been working with for 5+ years to put it on a new brand that no one's ever fucking heard of if they're not going to come to the party on a business level and make that worth our while.
Definitely.
So you're correct. I did miss that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Last question.
So Fitness Australia have rules to open gyms up. Do you think they're realistic or unrealistic? Temp checks, etc. From Meltat78. So the things I read the article, and Fitness Australia have said they're trying to obviously get gyms back open as quickly as possible. So they've put this regulation and guidelines essentially that they want to put forward to get gyms open that gyms will have to follow. They included temp checks upon entry, high frequency cleaning and sanitization, spacing of equipment, and PPE. And they also made a statement about everyone who goes to a gym is tracked because they have to sign in compared to bars, restaurants, and retail outlets.
Man, it's like it's not looking good. It's not looking good for gyms. You know, the longer this kind of goes on, I think, and we mentioned this in an earlier episode of the Clinical Dose, I think the more it's becoming quite obvious that until there is a vaccine, there's probably going to be these sorts of restrictions in place until that happens. Because of, and you know, now that we're kind of, you know, we're towards now 8+ weeks of this pandemic worldwide, you know, depending on which country you live in, we're at that point. So now they're starting to, you know, from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, what I'm watching, they're comparing it to previous pandemics. And obviously the most recent one was the Spanish flu about 100 years ago. And now they're seeing, okay, what happened with the places that locked down and then started easing restrictions. And everywhere that they eased restrictions, the cases went up again. And I think that history has taught the people who are making the decisions around this not to make that mistake again. I mean, a great example is in the last week, you look at Singapore. Right? Singapore lockdown, had everything under control, started easing the lockdown, boom, cluster outbreak. And now they're back in lockdown. So, I don't know. I think unfortunately for gyms, if there was to be a future cluster outbreak because restrictions have been eased, I think gyms are going to be one of the top on the list where that's going to happen.
So I think kind of they are realistic, but I don't think they're going to happen. And I think some of these things should be happening already. High frequency cleaning and sanitization. Why isn't that happening in a gym now?
Should be happening anyway,
Spacing of equipment should be fine now as well. Temp checks per entry, that's new. PPE is obviously new as well. So I think they're realistic, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think if they are to put this forward, the people who they've claimed who can't track members, bars, restaurants, retail outlets, essentially they can. Stop taking cash. Everyone's tracked with their credit card.
That's a good
essentially
point.
They can track anyone. So
that's a good point as well.
No matter where you go, there could be some form of tracking. And I think the other industries, hospitality in particular, is huge. So I don't think they're going to let that happen without them being open, which then is going to cause everything to be open. And then you're more likely to have outbreaks. So I just don't think it's going to happen.
And I think, you know, the gym thing is you know, one of the main ways of transmission of COVID is touching things. And then touching your face. You know, and you look at gyms, at how many people are touching a piece of equipment during a workout and then touching their face.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're, and this is why it becomes so tricky with gyms, because unless you're cleaning and sanitizing after every single person has used every piece of equipment, the chance of transmission is so huge compared to, say, you know, a restaurant or a retail outlet or something where you have, you know, you can invoke social distancing, you can space tables apart, you can keep people apart, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And there's no, you know, the person that's sitting at that table is not coming and touching your chair or your knife and fork or this and that. Whereas gyms, I'm going to go and use the declined chest after 4 other people have used it in that same 30-minute period.
Pick up your shaker, have a drink, and
you know, like the risk of transmission between members is so huge because of the nature of gyms. You know, when you start comparing to different hospitality things, it's kind of comparing apples with oranges. So gyms are in a tough place, that's for sure. But as the weeks go on, I guess we'll find out more.
Fingers crossed, because I do want to train in a gym again. So.
Get back in there, use a leg press or something, back squat. Vince, that's it.
That's it.
That's a wrap
Beautiful.
for this week's episode of The Clinical Dose. Thank you very much for sourcing those 5 questions. Good ones this week, man. Good ones. Guys, as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the MassiveJoes YouTube channel. Turn your post notifications on, both on your mobile, your cell phone, and your desktop PC, so you don't miss a beat when it comes to every new episode of The Clinical Dose and everything else on the MassiveJoes YouTube channel. Until next time, where we're coming to and from, Vince.
MassiveJoes.com.
Stay massive. Thank you for tuning in to this video. We hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to check out our latest upload and our recommended video, and be sure to subscribe to the MassiveJoes YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads.